Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the weekly comic book roundup, and so let's get started. I actually got a slightly smaller week than the last few weeks, but still quite the week. Kicking things off, we got Marauders number 22. Where we left off, the Hellfire Gala, and oh boy, what a gala it was, right? So the issue begins with various news broadcasts talking about the fallout. Facts news. Uh, Commenting about mutant mutant colonization of Mars. We have another station bringing up, as well as mentioning Feilong Industries, who were mentioned previously in X-Men #1, and then CCD going over apparently new agreements between the U.S., Russia, and Madripoor, as well as the U.K. no longer recognizing Krakoan sovereignty. That said, also, the report from CCD hopes that that's the last headline to come out of the Hellfire Gala. But yeah, the Cuckoos are still on Mars at the after party. When they return, they discover Wilhelmina Kensington, who they whose mind they did slightly manipulate during the gala, is still at the Myconese, and not in the best of states. Shaw has a new body, and he has requested the resurrection of Lourdes Chantal. We also get X-Force's profile on Wilhelmina Kensington, stating that it's quite likely that she killed her mother by pushing her a high-rise window in New York. She seems to be along part of Randy for the fun. But apparently there's quite a bit of cruelty when it comes to Miss Kensington. And it's been taken out on, well, those that can't defend themselves, namely small animals. And so, they further help her with her issues. It is alluded to that she was abused by her father, and the Cuckoos decide they're going to pay Wilhelmina's father a visit, and Wilhelmina can come with them if she wants. And they explain when Wilhelmina asks why the Cuckoos are helping her. They explain that Emma taught them to look out for other women when men take advantage. Speaking of which, the resurrection of Lourdes has been declined, as Lourdes Chantal is not dead. And Emma tells Sebastian what really happened that night. Before the gala, Lourdes came to Emma and with a black eye that she had received from Sebastian. The fight occurred as went over in the last issue. Sentinels controlled by some of the human members of the Inner Circle Lourdes died. Only she didn't. Emma made Sebastian and Leland see Lourdes being dead. Shaw massacred the inner circle. They took over. And Emma called in basically did some work for the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, in exchange for Lourdes getting a new everything. Identity, bank account, the works. But turns out that believing Lourdes dead was what truly caused Shaw to take a side, as he knew what was going on. He was playing both sides, making money, you know, by manufacturing pieces for Sentinels, but also making money, helping with, being a mutant. And Emma tells him that, even though she does despise Shaw, she does acknowledge that they would not have accomplished Krakoa at this point if it had not been for him. And that is where the issue does not quite end there. We get a letter to the High Council from Bishop. For also to be sent to Quiet Council, Hellfire Trading, and X-Force. Basically, the war captains want to prioritize the resurrection of Harry Leland, who died, fighting Nimrod, defeating Nimrod the first time around. Apparently, Ford has also posited that Shinobi Shaw, the Black Bishop, may be using concert with Leland to defeat Nimrod. And the thought is that drilling with the circuit of mutants, they may who have presume gravity or density manipulation powers. The bottom line of the letter, though, is that the Krakoa had better have a plan because Nimrod will, and that is where the issue ends. Good quiet issue of Marauders. I like. I had a feeling there was a reason why Lourdes hadn't yet been resurrected, but the fact that Emma helped her fake her death, well. Though I will admit to being surprised to learn that Harry Leland hadn't been resurrected earlier. I would think all the members of the old Inner Circle would have been resurrected almost from the get-go, but oh well. But yeah, Marauders is consistently good. I don't think there's been an issue I haven't enjoyed. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got New Mutants number 20. Where we left off, in the aftermath of the gala, our young students, Rainboy, Enole, No Girl, and Cosmar, discovered the dead body of Scout in the body farm at the Boneyard, X-Factor headquarters. But No Girl takes over Scout's body. And some valid points are made. Scout has expressed concern what would happen if she were to need to use if she were killed. Would she be resurrected? She is basically just a clone of X-23. So, would she be resurrected? After all, they won't resurrect Madeline Pryor. Personally, I think they would, as there is there is a wee bit more to Scout than simply being a clone of Laura Kinney. And also, Scout did not try to facilitate a demonic invasion of Earth by sacrificing her own son. So, there's that too. But the kids figured that maybe they could resurrect Scout on their own. Karma has a talk with Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane basically tells her to fuck off, but Karma's concerned that because, well, Wolfsbane is becoming friend, seems to be friendly with the Shadow King, and Karma does not have the best history with the Shadow King. So it's really just going to get stuff. Hey, be careful. We then get a mission brief about British overseas territory. Tristan de Cunha, a newly manifested mutant, has been located. Secondary objective is damage control and assistance for seismic events. It suggested that non-combatants are sent, with Sage adding that perhaps the mission could be handed off to Magic and Warpath, who've been wanting to train their students in the field under non-combat situations. So, the New Mutants arrive in Tristan de Cunha. The seismic events are the result of a newly manifested mutant. Everyone involved is taking care of, rescuing people, making, damage control. But the people are hesitant, are defensive of the New Mutants, as they expect that Abigail, as they know that Abigail, the young mutant whose powers have just manifested, is causing them. They are afraid that the New Mutants are there to take Abigail. So Warpath decides, okay, here's the deal. We thought that, as often happens, when a new mutant manifests their abilities, they come under attack. We were wrong. If she wishes to stay here, that's absolutely fine. We'll plant a gate, and she can come and leave Krakoa as she pleases, and we'll help train her. She can stay here, no problem. She can stay home with her family and friends. But we would like to train her on how to control her abilities, and that can be either done here or on Krakoa. In fact, if we're given advance notice, we can even bring some of you with her on occasion to Krakoa. As the Nole, No Girl, Cosmar, and the Rainboy go to the Arbor Magna, however, they're stopped by Dakin, who's finally found Scout. Hey, there you are. Everyone, me and Laura have been looking for you. But yeah, and he can tell something's up with her, but he doesn't know. He's unaware, as he does not have full blown. Well, he does have pheromone. I can't remember. He does have powers that do influence, that have a degree of mental influence, but not to the degree of telepathy. So he's unaware that it's No Girl controlling Gabby's body. Turns out Wolfsbane's already at the Arbor talking with Cypher, presumably about her son. Cosmar, there's a barrier keeping between the rest of the Arbor and the eggs, but Cosmar is able to use her powers to get past the barrier, And so they're looking at the eggs when Tempest shows up, and No Girl takes it over for her. There's also a brief reminiscence where everyone talked what they like most about Scout, how with Cosmar saying, when her and Scout would hang out, that Scout saw her, not the changes. And Ola mentioning that no matter what was going on, she was ready to jump in, no questions asked, always wanting to help. Rainbow saying that Gabby would pick him first when they got to choose teams during training, and she would let him practice using his powers on her, so he didn't embarrass himself, even though it gets everything damned. With No Girl adding that she's always patient with her, and doesn't judge how No Girl communicates, enjoys learning new things. She's the best at them. But No Girl takes over Tempest's body, and they're going to try. They didn't expect Tempest to be there to find out if the backups are in crystals or weird plant bubble or what. When Wolfsbane shows up, slightly wolfed out and asking what they're doing there. Back at the Academos habitat, however, Karma comes to Mirage and explains that maybe they need to talk about Wolfsbane. And that is where the issue ends. Good issue. I really liked the training mission with Warpath and Magic. That was a solid story. That was a very good B story. Anyways, moving on to our next book, we've got X-Men Legends number 5. So, as you may recall, X-Men Legends is a quasi-anthology series. Well, so far every story has been a two-part, two-issue story. Once the second part is finished, we get a new creative team, new story, completely and largely unrelated story that could take place at any point in X-Men history. The first one dealt with Adam X, the X-Treme, and his connection to the Summers family. The last one dealt with the original X Factor lineup and a previously hitherto unknown battle between them and Cameron Hodge. And now we're back to the early '90s era with a story focusing on the government super team lineup of X Factor. The story is going to largely be told in flashback as the team, as well as their government liaison, Valerie Cooper, are being questioned by Congress. Cooper explains that opines that the hearing is a publicity stunt, part of the government's continued efforts to vilify mutants, adding that if the Avengers had handled what happened at the Latvian embassy, they'd be awarded medals. But apparently on Christmas Eve, a quartet of mutants attacked the Latvian embassy, killing a receptionist and also heavily damaging a Doombot. The quartet of mutants are named Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, and Lanasa. I think that's how it will be pronounced. Named for the four Wiccan Sabbaths. But they're all mutants. Anyway, they want they're demanding the ousting of Doctor Doom and the forced ouster of Victor Von Doom as ruler of Latveria. and force democracy. And if these demands are not met, they'll kill everyone in the embassy. The X Factor's called in. Quicksilver explains that while Havoc explains first that since it's at an embassy, the UN was contacted first. The UN went to the Avengers. Since it was Latveria, the Avengers went to the Fantastic Four. Since it was mutants attacking the embassy, the Fantastic Four passed it off to the X-Men. Well, in this case, X Factor, but yes. With But Quicksilver believes it's because the FF didn't want the negative publicity. Namely, the fact that people such as J. Jonah Jameson were actually kind of on the side of the Quartet of Mutants. So it's like, it's you've got people saying, "Hey, we want to depose this dictator, make the country they run a democracy." It's like, nobody wants to go up against the people saying that, especially when it's the dictator in question is a literal supervillain. So, but since no one cares about the reputation of mutant kind, let them deal with it. But so yeah. At the embassy, Strong Guy and Multiple Man attack. It turns out they're actually just a distraction so that Wolfsbane can get in. Strong Guy's costume is burned up, but he manages to take Samhain's blast and absorb the energy from it, but yeah, it did burn off his costume, and given the nature of Strong Guy's powers and how certain aspects of them operate, yeah. But Wolfsbane is attacked by, or sees a specter of Reverend Craig, and well, she reverts to her more human-looking form, but Samhain declares that if X Factor attacks them again, Wolfsbane will be the next fatality. And that is where the issue ends. Very interesting. It feels... It honestly does feel just like reading an old Peter David issue of X Factor, which is, I mean, hey, he wrote the issue, but yeah, it doesn't feel like anything. Oftentimes when a creator returns to a project, there's a disconnect. This doesn't feel, that disconnect isn't here. It feels like this is just a reprint of a story, of a backup story or something. So yeah, good issue, really solid. I'm impressed. Anyways, moving on to a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away with Darth Vader number 14. Where we'd left off, Darth Vader had nearly succumbed to an attack by IG-88. And most recently in War of the Bounty Hunters number 2, Vader had showed up at the auction and declared that he will be taking Solo. So, a lot of this is flashbacks. When Administrator Sly Moore was demoted to sub-administrator for her failure to bring down Vader. She learns various bits of information. She learns about the Crimson Dawn auction and so on and so forth. She sends the technical readouts of Vader's armor to IG-88, passes on information between other members of her cabal, which eventually makes it to IG-88. The meeting wherein IG-88 shows up was interrupted by Vader showing up, slicing 88 in half. Sub-Administrator Moore once again tries to slice into Vader's armor, but he's fixed that. Takes on some of the other members of her cabal. And, yeah, she knows that the only person who can stop Vader at this point is Luke Skywalker. So, she tells Vader of the auction. And she's negotiating with Vader, figuring, well, perhaps if Skywalker does destroy Vader, then, well, everything will work out. But it turns out that Boku the Hutt. So Vader's associate Ochi talks with Sly Moore after Jabba the Hutt has bid 1 million credits. And basically, Boku the Hutt constantly continuing to bid against the Empire. It was to further humiliate Sly Moore, and so the Emperor will see her weakness even more clearly. And so Jabba will see Boku's betrayal. And then Vader makes his way in for his grand entrance, as seen in War of the Bounty Hunters #2. Not a bad issue. It was very interesting to see how things progressed with that meeting of the group of conspirators. I mean, it seems most of them are now dead, or at least rethinking their role in such conspiracy. But moving on to our next book, we've got War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt. So, we have a note saying that what happened in this takes place before and during the events of War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. Jabba asks him, where's Han Solo? And Bib Fortuna says that Boba Fett still hadn't brought him yet. He had detoured to Narshada. So he contacts Diva Lompop. We had a flashback some time ago at Jabba's palace. Diva and Boba Fett are tasked with taking down an uprising in one of the Tatooine settlements. They work together. They actually work together well. But Diva's following the trail of Boba Fett on Narshada. Turns out that the other members of the Hutt Council aren't involved in the uprising. It's rather Soykans. But turns out that Jabba wants one of them, Jarm Brock, brought back alive so he can be thoroughly questioned. Deva and Boba Fett deal with Brock and his associates. Fett chases down Brock, takes him prisoner. In the present, Deva talks with the associate of Boba Fett's that was taking care of the carbonite matrix for Han Solo. And it seems she may have tipped off Crimson Dawn about the location of Han Solo. However, turns out that John Brock is an ex of hers, and well, while Boba Fett does think her to be one that usually eats her exes, and she says usually she is, just, well, Zabrax or Chewie. Well, yeah. She does eat everything but the head, which is then delivered to Jabba. And Brock was working for Crimson Dawn. In the present, she shadows Boba Fett, and an emissary from Crimson Dawn arrives to invite Jabba to the auction, basically arranging so that it's revealed that yes, Jabba is taking it has so that Jabba's trust in Boba Fett is gone. And so is Han Solo. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our last book for this video. Alien, number 5. And yeah, that is the Alpha. A good look. So where we left off, Cruz was making his way, was leading the aliens away from Bishop, as well as and his son's girlfriend Iris, while carrying his son with him, who has a face attached to his face. But they face off against the Alpha, and Cruz talks about his time in the Hive and some of the things he saw, including, well, that. Or those, I should say. But we find out that Cruz had been impregnated, and upon arriving back at Epsilon Station, the chest burster was removed successfully. And that is what the company's been working on at Epsilon Station. Iris does not care much at all for Bishop. Or Cruz. Going up against the xenomorphs, though, Cruz does take his hits from them while defending Danny. They make it to the administrator's pod, break in. Cruz chucks some grenades down a corridor, which at least inject them into space. The xenomorph has fallen off of Danny's face, but the cryopod is no longer working. Bishop explains that he doesn't have the tools to save Danny. And Iris tells Cruz that a newborn xenomorph removed this early wouldn't survive outside its host. We also get some background on what happened between Cruz and his family. While on a mission, Danny and his older brother were playing on the station. Since it's not on Earth, doesn't certain basic safety regulations didn't apply, and his other son, his older son, in fact, fell into a his older son Lucas found his way into an unmarked maintenance tunnel, fell into a connection shaft, got stuck, and eventually suffocated. His wife, Cruz's wife, sued the company. When Cruz returned from a mission, though, they convinced him to drop the suit. But it turns out that Iris's goals might not be what we think they are. Yes, she's anti-corporate, but she apparently intends to use the alien growing within Danny for some purpose, saying that he's finally going to save the world, and that is where the issue ends. Honestly, I like the fact we're seeing consistent quality with Alien as well as Marauders. I wouldn't say it's as good, but it's still some good stuff. I do still feel a little perturbed that in some cases they do appear to be just retelling, taking the base concepts from some of the old Dark Horse comics and repurposing, making changes here. Kind of the whole. Let me copy your work. Okay, but make some changes so it's not obvious. Yeah. Anyway, it is still making for an interesting story. It's still early enough to where it's hard to tell what the full scope of the story is, but yeah. Anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.